Howdy, folks. Thanks for tuning in to another Cruise with Smooth. One of the segments that I've been putting up, just random videos here and there, is stories about my dad. And I don't know. I was listening to. Sorry, I got mask beard right now. It's got a mind of its own. I enjoy posting stories up about him, just some of the things that he did, some of my more fond memories of him, things of that nature. And there's one that I don't know if I've spoke about yet, but I've got to kind of go about this in a roundabout story. I was listening to another podcast on YouTube, a car guy I like to listen to, and just telling a story about kind of what got him into the car business the way that he's in it. And he had to go around it in a really roundabout way. He set up a lot of backstory, set up a lot of personal hurt that got him into the position where he got into the position he's in now. So the story with my dad, the way this starts out is my wife and I, when we met, she had 3 kids from a previous marriage. Due to several reasons, I don't feel comfortable going into a ton of detail about all this, but we'll leave it at the biological father, which is nearly the nicest word I can call the guy, is court-ordered out of his kids' lives until they are not kids. So, and the only reason that he did not lose his parental rights, even though he was court-ordered out of his kids' lives, is it did not take place in a civilian court. I'll leave that to your interpretation. Well, anyway, I met my wife shortly after. I think it was less than a year after her and her soon-to-be ex-husband had split up. They court order, no contact, whatnot. Divorce was in progress. Just the wheels of the legal system grind exceedingly slow. We met, and she had pictures of her kids at her work desk, and her and I, we worked for different offices for the same company, essentially. And one of the few times that I know we're dating a coworker turned out good long term. Anyway, we met. I'd seen pictures of the kids, but she had gotten together with a guy that she went to high school with right out of breaking up with, or separating from her ex-husband. And it didn't go well. The kids kind of got attached and he went away, so she was very cautious about letting me around the kids, not due to not due to me being a perceived risk to the kids, just due to the fact that she didn't want them to get hurt again, which they had already been hurt twice in a year. And so I don't blame her. Well, anyway, my wife and I met. She met my parents. I met her parents that are in the state. She's got a mother and stepdad in the state. Biological father lives between 6 to 8 hours away, depending on if you have kids in the car or not, for bathroom breaks. Well, anyway, we meet. My parents meet her kids. My mother just absolutely fell in love with them. The whole group. And short version of the story, and it's not something that I'm the most proud of, but oddly enough, it was my parents' idea. Before we were married, it was my parents' idea for her and her kids to move in with me due to extenuating circumstances on her end. So we would be going to my parents' house 2 to 3 Sundays a month for Sunday afternoon dinner and goofing off down at the farm and whatnot. Well, we had been together, let me think, 8, maybe 9 months at this point. We weren't married. We talked about getting married, planning on getting married, but we weren't at this point. And we go down to we had gone to her parents' house the day before, something like that, but we'd gotten in everybody. But we were down at my parents' house for Father's Day. I got my dad something for Father's Day, opened it up, and my wife, girlfriend at the time, gave me a Father's Day present. And it was one of the most touching gifts I'd ever gotten. She said something, I'm going to butcher the words on this, I know I am, but the general sentiment was, you weren't around for the kids when they were little, but you're filling a role that I never could, and so here's some pictures of the kids when they were little, just so you can capture a glimpse of what you got cheated out of. Something to the effect of that. And my mother, my dad, my girlfriend at the time, the kids and I were out on the front porch. The kids they weren't old enough to grasp what was going on. Oldest would have been 6, I think. So they didn't grasp what was going on, but amongst the adults there wasn't a dry anywhere. Not gonna lie. Well, fast forward a few months, my wife and I get married. I was working I had been moved down the rung in the company I was working for to a job that paid less. Got married. Bear in mind, the whole time, due to the odd legal circumstances, their biological father still had parental rights, but he couldn't exercise any of them. I wasn't making a lot of money, and one of the things that we wanted to do was to go to court and terminate his parental rights and for me to adopt the kids. That's one of the things we wanted to do. So one of the things we did at the wedding is we actually, don't give us gifts, give us money. We're trying to adopt the kids, and nobody did it. I think I got like $20, which, I appreciate it. In lawyer terms, that's nothing, as I found out a few years later. And her biological father drove up from where he lived to be at the wedding, and he gave me a decent amount of cash. And he said, I don't care what you do with it as long as you enjoy it with your family. And so we, a couple days after we got married, we showed the kids how to play hooky. And I had taken some paid time off work. I had a couple days. And we took the money and we went and just had a big day out in one of the nicer metro areas in my state. And there was a big indoor playground. Took the kids there. They went around there. We couple other things, had a big time, appreciated it, posted pictures to Facebook, everybody happy. Fast forward, got a better job, started getting out of the financial hole I was in due to having been knocked down the ladder at my former place of employment. Started doing better. And one of the things that my dad had at his house is he had this absolutely killer stereo. To put this thing into perspective, that stereo used to be at our old house, which was in a really weird spot. Next door was a business in a house, and next door on the other side was a business in a business building. Well, where this gets really funny is I'm 17, 18 years old. I have no cares in the world about hearing loss, and I turn this thing up to 11. Bear in mind, houses are separated by like a 10-foot driveway. Both houses are brick. Both houses have modern windows and insulation. And I am rocking out the stereo, beating the crap out of a drum set. The neighbor that owned the business came over between songs. He's like, "You're gonna have to turn that down. I can't hear people on the phone." Okay, sorry. Well, anyway, so that's the stereo. Well, we, again, Sunday afternoons kind of spent down with my family, typically. And we go down there, and my dad said something. He goes, "I just realized something." I said, "What?" And he said, "I got to play something for you." And we do this like I find... My dad and I had similar music taste, as odd as that sounds. There's a lot of overlap. Like, I like some rap and some different rock that he didn't necessarily like. And he liked basically everything that he liked, I liked. I liked some extra stuff. Well, he said, "I've got a song I want you to listen to." Okay, so it was funny. It was a really old stereo. Analog dials and receiver. One of the amps in it was a tube amp. All cool stuff. Unfortunately, it got torched in a house fire 2 years after this. And so we're all just sitting down in the living room, chit-chatting. Kids are out playing on the porch. And he plays the song by Brad Paisley, "Didn't Have to Be." And around this point, I've got the three, and I use the term very loosely, but stepchildren. I don't treat them like stepchildren. I love all of them dearly. Great kids. I think the world of them. They mean the world to me. And my wife at the time, we had gotten married, was either very pregnant with our youngest, or our youngest was very little. And he plays this song by Brad Paisley, "Didn't Have to Be." I've been at work all night, wearing a face mask. My voice is kind of shot. I'm not going to sing the song. I probably get a little emotional anyway. But the gist of it is single mom trying life out in the dating world, and it's not working for her because all the guys find out about this boy, and it's sung from the perspective of this child of the single mother. Every time they find out about this boy, they run off, and the kid's wondering if mom's ever going to find anybody that doesn't run off because of, her having a kid. very young kid. And he takes his mom out to a movie. They get to go. Long and short, mom and dad get engaged. He marries his mother, this boy's mother, and the boy grows up. Dad raises him. He starts his own family, and he's standing outside the nursery window at the hospital, looking at his brand new baby. And his dad walks up to him, and he's standing there wondering and he's standing there hoping that he's half the dad that his stepfather didn't have to be. And I bawled like a baby. And I'll tell you why. I never felt, and it's funny, I've got two of my best friends are stepfathers too, and I use the term loosely, like their kids met them when they were so young that I don't know that they know that they're their stepdad. And my girls, my older two, they know that I'm not their biological father. They call me dad. They've been calling me dad for, I think they started calling me dad 6-7 months after my wife and I got married. It was a learned habit. There was some other reasons behind that, but my son doesn't know yet. I plan on telling him eventually when I can explain more about the situation. There's a lot there. But it was funny. When my wife and I met and got married and whatnot, I told her this. I never felt like I did anything exceptional or different. The woman that I fell in love with and that came into my life at a point in time that was beneficial to both of us in a ton of ways, and that realistically stopped me from either making a catastrophic mistake or going into huge depression. Happened to have kids. I never felt like I did anything incredibly noteworthy. And got me thinking, one of these days, my stepkids are going to grow up and realize that, and it's just humbling to think that I've been a part of their lives and a part of their future. It's just very humbling to me, because I'm just a guy. And, I'm not saying that to be down on myself, but, I'm just a guy. But anyway, and Dad and I talked a lot about grandkids. He and I used to talk to each other nearly every day when I go to work, and now I spend my time talking to you people. He'd call me or I'd call him when I was in the midst of my work commute. We'd talk on the phone for anywhere from 2 to 45 minutes about you name it. anything we could think of, we talked about. And I'm sure I've told you this, but in September of 2016, he was diagnosed with cancer. It had gone undiagnosed for likely a number of years. And so by the time we received any diagnosis, it was, the prognosis was not very good. And he passed away just a few months later. And a long, complicated story, but the following year, I had to move twice within 51 weeks, and I hadn't moved in decades, which is weird coming from somebody who's long. That's another long story. But got settled in. We ended up rebuilding a house that essentially I'd inherited shortly after my dad died, once stuff got settled. But the house had burned. Got the house rebuilt and got involved with lawyers. And the legal system is just so screwed up around family law. I know that there's a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration, but due to the nature of this situation, in order to terminate his parental rights and adopt the kids and change their names legally, I had to pay for 3 lawyers. I had to pay for a lawyer to represent their biological father, who, this was so funny, he's doing his job in the courtroom, and when we walk out and everything went exactly the way we wanted, in our favor, parental rights terminated, adoption, legal name change, everything we wanted, about as easy as we could get it. I had to answer stupid questions on 2 hours of sleep, so I was fun. But the lawyer literally apologized to me for doing his job. He's like, look, I wasn't doing him any favors. I was harassing your lawyer because I didn't want him to say the whole thing was a frame-up. Which I got, and I appreciate it in hindsight, but I had to pay for him a lawyer because it was a civil matter, not criminal, so he's not guaranteed counsel on civil matters. I had to pay for my stepchildren a lawyer who worked with all 3 of them, and then I had to pay for myself a lawyer. That was fun. And the funniest thing happened in the courtroom, and I can't say I got snarky with my lawyer. In hindsight, I could have handled it better, but due to because the court date was scheduled when it was scheduled, and due to reasons, just put it that way, I didn't have a huge amount of personal time available at my disposal, and the court date came up in the middle of my work week, and court was during the day. I worked night shift, and so I'm like, well, I can either call off or call into work the night before and get sleep and go to court and come back home and take a cat nap, wake up, go to work, and I got a long commute. Or I can work the night before, come home, take a cat nap, go to court, and then call in the following night so I can get rested up. I chose that one because at least I wasn't going to be driving by myself when I'm tired. Bear in mind, this was a little over 2 years ago. So I catch my little cat nap. I go to court. We had to sit outside and wait for the judge and blah, blah, blah. And it was just one. So got me irked at my lawyer. And like, she's going after the biological father because he's trying to make a case that he shouldn't have his parental rights terminated, and she verbally crapped down his throat. With his little argument. I'm not getting into it, but she ripped his head off. She ripped him a new one, verbally. And I'm sitting back there just... And I was frustrated with my lawyer before the court date, too, because I felt like nothing was getting done. I wasn't getting updates. All this was going on, and I'm like, hey, you keep sending me bills, but I'm not getting anything done. And boy, when she went in, she was game on. Well, anyway, so they get my wife on. They get the biological father on the phone to make his case and hear the hearing out. They get his parental rights terminated. Then it's up to me to make my case for adoption. So they get the kid's lawyer involved. He has to give testimony on behalf of the kids that they're treated well. They have a nice house. They have rooms. They have clothes and toys and food and all that stuff. So I don't remember if my wife even took the stand. I don't know. I don't believe that she did. So anyway, then it comes my turn to testify, and my lawyer, well, how long have you known your wife? How long have you been married? How long have this, that, and the other? And this was in 2018, and she's like, well, do you believe that you would be capable of financially providing for the kids and taking care of their physical needs? And I just kind of cocked up my head real funny, and I said, I've been doing this for 5 years. I think I've got it. Typically easier to get along with, but when I've had 2 hours of sleep, don't ask me what I deem to be a stupid question, because and I felt a little bad about it, but I didn't get updates for 6 months, so I didn't feel too bad about it. Well, so anyway, and I wish my dad would have been around to see that, because he would have thought the world of it, because he loved them kids to pieces. I remember one of my favorite pictures of him that we got, and I used to not understand all this, but I'm beginning to now. People that upload everything to Facebook, but the thing is, you can't lose it. You can do your password recovery, you can get that stuff back. When that house burned down, there was a ton of VHS tapes and pictures and memories in that house that were just wasted by smoke and water damage. And it was so nearly depressing, because you had these pictures that were starting to molder, and you go to take them out of their photo album and they'd start to fall apart or rip because they were stuck to the album due to moisture being in there from the fire damage and fire hoses and everything. It was a mess. This isn't a sponsor. I get nothing out of it. I'd highly recommend you either start putting pictures on Facebook, some sort of cloud, go to Legacy Box. I actually did that for my mother, the pictures that we could save so they could be saved permanently. Got VHSs and stuff done. Do it. But one of my favorite pictures of my dad, he had my oldest daughter in his lap at the dining room table, and he was painting up her fingernails, and I thought that was just cool. And he'd get my middle daughter in his lap, and they just sit there and snuggle, and she'd talk to him and scruff his beard. My son, he'd just energy can be contained in one human being. And my youngest daughter, he loved to hold that baby, and when he died, she was just getting talkative. And so he'd love, when she was a little younger, before he got sick, you call me Papa. I'm Papa. He loved all of his grandkids, and that's just mine. He had kids from my sister too. So, and he loved hanging out with his grandkids, and I wish he could have seen that. He probably would have gotten a little misty-eyed too that day. My wife did. I was tired, and I was kind of numb that day, but my wife cried. My mother cried. My wife's mother cried. We had some emotional support friends there. They cried. But it was a good day. So, anyway, I've gone on. This is probably one of my longest videos I've done yet. I have no idea I'm going to tag all this. Thanks for watching, folks. I know this is kind of weird, but one of the most meaningful memories that I ever had with my dad was him playing that song. And the thing is, like, I'd heard that song hundreds of times on the radio. But he never shared it in that light with me, and got me a little misty-eyed. And my wife got me my first Father's Day present, and that there when the dry on the porch, I was crying and hugging her at the same time. So I don't know what the moral of all this is. Lawyers are expensive. The legal system sucks. Avoid it at all costs if possible. Otherwise, you will pay all costs. Tiny things can make huge, impactful memories. And cherish your family. You don't know how long you got. So that's it for today, folks. I'm tired. I had to work overtime